Tarpley here in Washington, D.C. Now, we want to get our report from Greece. The stories we have here that the various forces have organized a modest run on some Greek banks, $2 billion or euros in the last 3 days or so. Tsipras has gone to St. Petersburg for the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum, met with Putin. Russia is disposed to provide help, but no specifics so far. It also looks like one of the Russian gas pipelines is going to go through Greece, so that's an important dimension. The sanctions vote in the European Union is next week, and the question now is, did Tsipras get some help? Did he get some assurances of help? Is he going to be able to use the support from Putin in some way as a means of bludgeoning the Eurocrats and the Eurogawks? Let's go to our excellent correspondent in Athens, Michael Chiotinis, and get the lowdown on all that. Michael, welcome.
Hello, Webster. Well, Putin didn't give any specifics, but of course we know that things are sure to have been discussed, and a memorandum of cooperation on this pipeline was signed, including a full financing by Russia of this pipeline. And this is interesting because we have yet to see if this pipeline is going to become a reality. This is a huge thing, and it has come so fast that I'm not sure about it, because it brings Greece in a place of clashing with NATO in unprecedented ways. So we'll see about that. And there's a possibility that this might be just a negotiation thing. So Varoufakis was at the Eurogroup meeting of Eurozone finance ministers Thursday, where he tried to present yet another very realistic Greek proposal, but he was interrupted and wasn't allowed to present it in the end. The proposal had new mechanisms that would guarantee primary surpluses, so no new austerity, but a temporary debt restructuring without a haircut, simply to put an end to the month-by-month bailout installment hunt and inevitable continuation of conditionalities. You know, like a drug addict that would agree to anything just to take the next dose. So this would put an end to it and open the road for investment from the European Investment Bank, and calm things down so that discussion for the viability of the Greek debt and the inevitable haircut may start. But they don't care about it. You know, Varoufakis' proposals have the unbelievable merit of being both reassuring for the European taxpayer and bringing hope to the Greek people. If this proposal was to be agreed on, Syriza would become the absolutely dominant party of the political field in Greece. And that is, in my view, the reason why the Europeans refused to accept it. Instead, they made leaks that supposedly the Greek banks would remain closed on Monday. This is a direct attempt to invoke a panic, to foment panic in Greece, and bring the government to a tough situation where it would sign anything just to keep things calm. This is not going to happen, I'm afraid. The Greek government, as I see it, is not going to be blackmailed. Now, they have called for a special EU summit on Monday to discuss the Greek issue. It seems like, once again, there's not going to be a deal. They will try to foment panic and then have Tsipras surrender on Thursday at the regular EU meeting, summit. I don't think it's going to happen. But are they really prepared to let a Grexit happen? Absolutely not. And that's why they believe they can blackmail, simply because the Greek government doesn't want it either. So a simple default will have a bad short-term effect on the Greek economy without the threat of Brexit. So they are trying to squeeze without bringing it to the point of a collapse of the Greek banks. Here we have to say that there is, as you said, a mild bank run in progress already. But here's the interesting thing. The ECB, the European Central Bank, came in again today with yet another ELA extension. ELA is Emergency Liquidity Assistance, as it has done almost every week till now. And once again, it saved the Greek banks. So the ECB, while not providing normal liquidity, because it has stopped accepting Greek bonds as collateral the minute Syriza was elected, it has nevertheless pushed huge amounts of emergency liquidity that the Greek banks operate with these last 4 months. So who's afraid of a collapse, really? And what will happen to the Spanish and the Portuguese and the Italian bonds if Greece were to default June 30th? We need to see this.
I think the other thing, Michael, to add to that is now this question of the Ukrainian default looms very large. So Greece by itself, one thing. If you add in these other places, right, add in Portugal and Spain. But then if you add in Ukraine, you get a much, much bigger shock that I don't think they have any way of being ready for.
Yes. Will Merkel really become the chancellor to break up the Eurozone? I don't think so.
It's not a winning resume, is it?
Yeah, of course. Helmut Schmidt, the former chancellor, says today Greece must get a significant haircut and a big investment package. Tremonti, the former finance minister under Berlusconi, came out this week supporting the kind of policies Syriza is calling for. So will Merkel become the chancellor to break up the Eurozone? I don't think so. But in order not to do it, she has to make concessions. Well, given the hard line she's kept until now, how can she make any concessions without guaranteeing a huge political win for the left in Europe?
And we also have this crazy Madame Lagarde, as we call her here, Lagarce. Look that one up. And Lagarde is saying, we'll give you nothing. We won't give you a day of extension. We have to have adults in the room. Right? Insults left and right. So Merkel has a hard time getting back from the brink because Lagarde is standing behind her and pushing over the brink.
Yes, and whenever you hear someone barking like that, it means they're in a tougher situation themselves. So I don't know who's in a tough situation. The Greek government or themselves, because they're going to be humiliated if another failure comes to the IMF record. So I think Lagarde is pushing for exactly this reason, because she's afraid of losing yet more credit. The IMF losing even more credit, because no one wants the IMF anymore to be to come into their country.
Nobody wants to submit to conditionalities or memorandum or letter of intent, right? That's the kiss of death.
Yeah. So where can this lead? I don't know. But June 30th is coming, and I find it far from impossible that Greece is going to default. And as I see it, it would be a good thing, I think, because it will force European politicians to clear things up. Is a default a deadly sin? Do we break diplomatic relations with someone who's bankrupt? What is this? European ideals? It would bring some. It would be cathartic, I think, for European politics.
I don't think we need to have an exaggerated fear, because even after a default, there would be some days when these people like Merkel could come to their senses and say, "Okay, we're going to finance you to stop a world panic." Okay, thank you, Michael. We'll see you next week at the same time. Michael Chiotinis in Athens, our excellent correspondent, and we'll be back in just a minute on World Crisis Radio.